What is up, denizens of the interwebs? It's Arza Chats here, coming at you with another video, and this time we're talking about one of the dumbest articles I've seen in recent time, where Lin-Manuel Miranda claims he's remaking a classic 70s movie as the form of an album that's where he's gender swapping all of the characters in it, and just wait, because of Gamergate. I wish I was kidding. I wish there was a better way to deliver that. I don't understand what is happening here. So, like, subscribe, and let's just get into this before I lose my mind. Drawing this over from John F. Trent over at That Park Place, Lin-Manuel Miranda reveals he gender swapped the Warriors in his new album because of Gamergate. Now, to be clear, I don't think I've heard of the movie The Warriors. I don't know what it's about, but thankfully they do. Basically, it's a movie based on a novel that follows a street gang called the Warriors as they fight their way through the Bronx to Coney Island after they were accused of assassinating a gang leader. Now, apparently this is all coming over from over at The Guardian, so let's pull up that article and read exactly what's going on in that. Here we have a picture of the Warriors gang from the movie, in which we're being reported that the Hamilton composer has turned it into a musical concept album with playwright Aisha Davis, where Miranda describes the atmosphere of the movie as they encounter every fear you're supposed to have as a New Yorker. Falling into the train tracks, the wrong cop on the wrong night, stepping into the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time, when some shit that has nothing to do with you just pops off. And they comment that the film is propelled by a rock soundtrack with suspenseful synths. So of course, given the fact that the movie clearly has a very distinct soundtrack that's rock-based with synth, who is it that they want to go and make this album? Roy Ayers, The Strokes, Cardi B, Ruben Blades, Beyonce? What the fuck? I mean, I don't know Ruben Blades or Roy Ayers or The Strokes, but Cardi B and Beyonce are not rock music with synth highlights. The author of this article, whose name is not listed, describes the book as an all-male, fight-ready Coney Island gang, the Dominators, renamed to the Warriors in the film, form both family and army in their exaggerated machismo. Miranda's chief change, however, was to make all the Warriors female, a decision inspired by Gamergate incident in 2014, which he sums up as terminally online dudes doxing women who are dared to like video games. What the fuck did I just read? The fuck did you just say to me? Look, I'm going to say it. Lin-Manuel Miranda has always been an overrated hack. He has had exactly one good project, or role, and that was his role in the filler episode in How I Met Your Mother when he has to just tell a bunch of rhymes to keep Marshall's baby from screaming the entire bus ride. That is his only good role. The rest of it is shit. All of his music sounds the same as the rest of it. He has like 3 different kinds of songs. His upbeat pop rap, his somber pop songs, and then just a mix of the two. Like, his music isn't interesting. It's all the same song. Every single song can be swapped out for a different one, and no one would notice. Hamilton, Encanto, and In the Heights are practically the same movie. You can literally swap out the songs in them, and the movie doesn't sound any different. They're not good. Hamilton was a little impressive, a little bit, but it wasn't even a good play. The only good song in that entire play is Burn, and that's it. The play fucking sucks. Encanto's a terrible movie with an absolutely terrible message and a terrible storyline. In the Heights was equally boring. Like, I legitimately almost fell asleep during the movie, and none of the songs say anything. It's the kind of movie that actually just makes fun of reality. It shows a clear misunderstanding of the real world and that Miranda doesn't know what's actually going on. He lives in his privileged version of the world, and he knows that he used to live without privilege, and now that he knows privilege, he has forgotten what it's like to lack it. And so when he goes back to write someone without privilege, he can't do it because he doesn't remember what it's like. And that just comes out through painfully in that movie, and it comes up painfully in this article. Also, Gamergate was not terminally online dudes doxing women who dared to like video games. It was women selling their bodies to get positive reviews on the games that they didn't do anything to make and that weren't at all good, and leading to men having an issue with the fact that their hard work was being denied because a couple of judges were getting a little bit of an extra on the side. And when he called out the fact that his partner was betraying him and using sex to get good reviews, he was dogpiled to the point of killing himself. So no, it's not a bunch of terminally online dudes who hate women liking games. It's the fact that a bunch of women were overtaking the gaming space and abusing it and selling their body for good reviews and bastardizing the space, forcing men to defend it, and destroying games. Games have not recovered since 2014. So Miranda can shut the hell up and he can go suck a dick. Although actually, no, maybe not, because I'm sure he'd actually like that. He continues that the misogynistic behaviors reminded Miranda of the malignant chaos in the film that's caused by Luther shooting Cyrus, who was the city's almighty gang leader who was proposing a truce among the tribes. In Miranda and Davis's version, the gang shares a sisterly solidarity as they essentially reclaim the night. Shut the... Ugh. And of course, Cyrus is also being sex swapped into a woman, because anyone who has anything good has to be a woman in these morons' eyes. So going back into that Park Place article, Davis also admitted that the album was informed by her political lineage, since she is the niece of Marxist and feminist Angela Davis, who was also a member of the Communist Party of USA. She said, I always am infused by what that political lineage is in everything that I do. It doesn't mean that I'm bound by it, but I'm informed by it. So when I saw the film, the thing that really stood out to me was that there was this peace meeting and there was this possibility of a truce. There was a possibility that we wouldn't have to fight each other anymore. And I think that's something that, again, comes from where I come from. That was the thing that I clung to. While that's inherently antithetical to the notions of communism, given the fact that the whole point of a communist and a Marxist is to always be pushing for the revolution, these people can never be satisfied. Sorry to quote Lin-Manuel Miranda. You will never be satisfied. Because they're not fighting for any kind of specific progress, they're fighting for the sake of fighting, and the progress is irrelevant because the progress will never be enough. Even if they reach the goal they're hoping for, it still is enough and they will continue to fight, even though it's to the detriment, because what they're fighting for right now is objectively to the detriment of society. And Davis continues on saying, I think there's like a really strong feminist impulse in that. You know, it comes from my politics and just walking around New York City. So I think that's a huge, huge aspect, but also a part of the aesthetics when you were asking about the album and the music. I think the politics infuse what kind of representation and identities that we have on the album, and also what their cultural legacies are. Can these narcissists please just shut up? I'm so tired of this, because it's always the same kind of shit. These people who are, mind you, cultural colonizers, always have to come in here and bitch and moan and whine about how culturally they're stunted and being forced against the wall, and yet here they are coming in and they're taking someone else's culture and changing it to affirm theirs. A movie about danger and masculinity, well, now it has to be a movie about femininity and feminism and self-empowerment. A movement against men trying to maintain the integrity of their industry? No, that's actually just a movement of discrimination, harassment, and sexism. These people don't live in the real world, and it gets even worse here, where she elaborated, so something like The Quiet Girls, which I don't know what that is, it's like really important to me to have this queer trans ballroom song, you know what I mean? No, I don't fucking know what you mean. What the hell does that even mean? A queer trans ballroom song? What the hell is even that?
What the hell is even that?
They also both admit that they want to rewire the way people think of gangs, from criminal operations to groups of people who just want to control their own destiny. Oh my god. So, yeah, they're not dangerous drug-toting cartels. They're just dreamers who want to control their own destiny. Holy Moses. What is... I can't even put into words exactly the levels of idiocy going on in this article. But once again, it's just trying to make... First of all, it's rewriting history. It's rewriting this idea, this notion of history, because I assume they're not going to change the setting from the 70s, and instead they're just going to rewrite what they want people to think of as gangs. Not from violent men who are fighting for turf, but to reluctantly violent women who are just trying to find their own autonomy. Miranda quickly added, that's a great way of describing it, not only with Quiet Girls, that was very much subculture at the same time the Warriors was being made, but also like her impulse to change the Turnbull's ACs from a skinhead gang to like the greatest Fania song you'd ever heard. Because Fania like revolutionized salsa in the 70s, and all those dudes were from the Bronx. There weren't skinheads in South Bronx in the 70s, they were fucking Puerto Ricans. I know my aunt lived there. You know, hear me out, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Maybe you should take the fucking main character syndrome down a notch and realize that America's multicultural, like you like to say it is. So that, you know what? Obviously, I wasn't alive in the 70s. If I was alive in the 70s, I'd look pretty damn good for that. And while there probably weren't skinhead gangs, as you are describing them, because you're probably referring to the white supremacist skinheads, they're willing to bet there were, in fact, non-Puerto Rican gang members. But you know what's the even bigger problem with this quote here? complaining about the fact that there were no skinheads in the South Bronx in the 70s and they were all Puerto Ricans. Are you saying that the Puerto Ricans in the 70s were all gang members? Because that's exactly how this is reading here. This is reading like you're saying that people who were in the gangs in the Bronx in the 70s were Puerto Ricans. So you're trying to say, represent my culture, my history, but instead you're saying to talk about how the fact that all of your Puerto Rican ancestors were fucking criminals. Davidson explained what you're getting at is just there's all these ways that the gangs actually become young lords. The Panthers, they became what the Zulu Nation became these community organizations that were actually taking care of each other, and I think that was important to us. Yes, the gangs are just uplifting the small community by enforcing protection, racketeering, and killing anyone who pushes back against them. That's definitely protecting you. Yes, there was some precedent of gangs acting as actual protection, but most of the time, gang culture is one that is restricting and oppressing the people who live there. It is not a healthy system, it's not a fair system, and this is just them trying to rewrite history to fit their narrative once again. Also continuing on this article from NPR, Lin-Manuel Miranda's new musical is based on a cult movie, and it's for your ears only, written by Jennifer Vanasco. Where apparently, something that wasn't covered in the other two articles, on top of sex swapping all of the characters from men to women, they also race swapped and made them all fucking queer, because of course they did. Miranda and Davis flipped the gender of the warriors so that in their version, the gang is all women. This means the central romance is one between women as well. The gender flipping allowed us to angle on the sexism and homophobia in the film and make sure that we left that in 79. Davis said, "We're in 2024 here." My Jesus Christ. Like I've said, I've always hated Lin-Manuel Miranda. I've always thought he was a hack. I've never once heard a Lin-Manuel Miranda song and thought that song was excellent, because they don't exist. He's not a talented writer. He's not a talented lyricist. All he's able to do is talk fast. And he was propped up on his identity. He's literally probably the first DEI playwright. Because if you notice, every single one of his major plays are all about his identity as a Puerto Rican and have nothing to do with actual history or actual art. When it came to Hamilton, it had nothing to do with the fact that Hamilton was actually incredibly well written. It was the fact that they race swapped everyone. It was the fact that it was just the first Broadway rap that was popular. And it came at a time when rap was at a rise. Honestly, I don't even understand the broad appeal of Hamilton because, like I said, it's not that great of a play. It's overly long and the rhymes are mostly lazy. And the storytelling is weak. So the fact that someone who puts his own race, yes, because Lin-Manuel Miranda is a racial supremacist. That's what he is. He is a Puerto Rican supremacist. He legitimately believes that his race and his people are better than others. And it's very evident from the way he talks about his community. And it's evident by the way he showed his community in The Heights. For instance, in The Heights, there's a character who is a college student. She's a genius. She managed to go to Columbia University, I think it is. And she has to leave because, first of all, she can't get financial aid, which is objectively false. A Colombian first-generation American is going to be able to get financial aid to go to Columbia. And also gets mistaken for a waitress at an event because she's dressed like the staff and then thinks it's all racism, so she drops out of school because that's what a normal person would do. Totally. He is a talented hack who is just propped up by his race. And don't say otherwise because if you do, you are just lying. His work is not nearly as good as he thinks it is, and anyone else does either. And the fact that I, a loser college student with a dorm that was like this, knows more about politics and culture than Lin-Manuel Miranda does, is honestly quite concerning. So how about instead of you running around spouting political nonsense that you don't know what you're talking about, how about you go out and try and make an actually decent movie for a change? But I've got a headache now. Let me know down in the comments what you think about all this, and I will see you guys on the next one.